work for the really, really cool Hamburg-based startup Familo, and I want to tell you a little bit about how we managed to, time's not running, but it's fine, don't let it run so I can talk. How we managed on actually a really small budget to grow internationally, and we're available now in we actually sell more than 80 markets, and want to give you a little bit of insights what we did, because we're a really small company and we have really, really limited budget. Didn't get as much investment as included recently, and so we really have to work around, okay, what do we do, and how do you actually start up when you're really starting to go international? First of all, who are we? I guess most of you probably don't know us, which is fine, but you will obviously after this. We are a location messenger, mostly for families and also for other small groups of people. And a location messenger, what is that? So we try to answer the question, where are you, in a really easy and playful way. Which means if you just think about your daily life, how often this question pops up, did my kid get to school okay? Has my boyfriend left the office already? How many times do you actually call people and ask them, hey, where are you? Are you on your way? Can you bring milk or whatever? Also this, I often have this experience when I visit my family. I always tell them, hey, I'll call you. Or they always tell me, call me when you get there. I never do. And with our app, you won't have to anymore, because we want all those questions to be answered with this app. So what you do is, you obviously download it, register, and then you invite, let's say, your family. You invite your family. They also all register, create a group, and then you can create different places. So the most important places in your life, like your kid's school, your workplace, your home. And whenever someone leaves or enters this place, you get an automatic notification into the group. You can also live track people. You can see on the map where they are. But if you don't want to be live tracked, you just turn it off. So this is the concept of this app is mostly, a lot of families use it because then they feel safer and they know their kids are okay and so on. So just so you understand what the app actually does. This chart, this is not the most current one, but you see in September of this year we had 800,000 registered users. And as you see, the app came out roughly 2 years ago. And for the first year, we were just focusing on making a great product. I mean, we hear everyone basically who's been here said, you need a great product, otherwise people will leave. Doesn't matter what you give them for free. So we were focusing for an entire year only in the German market, or German, Austrian, Switzerland, and looking at the feedback, trying to see what can we actually improve so we can roll out internationally. And then this point you see where it's going, where the hockey stick is basically building. This is where we did go international, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we did it. So we had these 5 steps that we went through in order to make sure we will be successful internationally in the long run. And this is, as I said, from September. By now we're actually at 1 million registered users this month. So for us, that's super exciting, because I know 1 million registered users, you can buy that in 2 days if you want to, if you have the money. But we don't have the money, and we also, that's not what happened here. We really try to grow it steadily and try to increase organic growth. So step 1, where did we start? So we only had experience in the German-speaking markets. So we basically started from blank internationally. So we just started looking, okay, what are our key markets going to be? We didn't know. Is it going to be markets that are really similar to your current markets, or is it going to be completely different markets that we have no idea about? So we started looking at different metrics. And this is just, it's not the prettiest slide, but just to show you, we built this big and really ugly Excel sheet where we were tracking a bunch of metrics in terms of market size and market potential. So, for example, what's the smartphone penetration in the different markets, and had this huge list of roughly 60 markets that we looked at. And we looked at how can we actually finally monetize, because we don't do that yet. The app is free, and we also need indications, okay, if we go into this market, are we going to be able to make money in a year or two? It doesn't really make sense just to grow and then zero money comes out of it in the end. So we looked at what's the ratio of paid apps versus free apps, and what's the credit card penetration, and all these kinds of information. We obviously looked at competition. So our biggest competitor, Life360, we looked at how do they perform in those different markets. And obviously it's difficult to get really precise information on that, but we tried to collect as much as we could. And then a few product-specific features like what's the crime rate in the country, because for us, the bigger the crime rate, the better, kind of, because the app the app makes families more safe, or gives them the feeling at least of being more safe or being able to communicate with each other better. So we are actually performing really well in markets where safety is quite a big issue. So we looked at a ton of metrics and then built what we call value of benefits. There's a lot of names you can give it. So we just you see, I didn't put the country names, but we just had this long list. Okay, what are the most promising markets? After we had established that, we were thinking about, okay, how do we enter those markets? What's the most promising acquisition channel for us? And there are so many. I mean, you can throw money at so many ad networks, and I get a lot of calls and emails from lovely people from ad networks, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to use a channel. We pretty quickly decided on Facebook because we wanted to use a channel which we can manage ourselves from our Hamburg office worldwide, where we can scale easily, where we can learn a lot, gain a lot of insights about our users and just adapt whenever needed and just continuously learn and also target super specifically. So Facebook was the obvious choice for us to go ahead. So we had markets. Okay, we had narrowed down, let's say, top 10 markets. We had our channel Facebook. Then what we did is also, like Lou just mentioned, we started testing. So we defined our different KPIs and adapted all of our creatives, obviously, in the local language and tried to pick images that would fit the country. And then we just rolled out really short test campaigns, only 2 weeks, in 7 markets, and we only spent 6,000 euros, which is not a lot of money. So we had the campaign on Facebook going for 2 weeks, and then we tracked conversion and retention for another 4 weeks. And usually we track retention for way longer than that, but we just wanted kind of an indication of like, what is it, just to get a feel, because we had no idea. We had the German information, but nothing else. We don't know how India performs. How India performs in the long run. So we looked at CPI, conversion, and retention. And as you see here, these are the real numbers. We had CPIs from 13 cents in a country like Mexico to €1.65, a country like Germany. But that's not the most important thing. Obviously, you can never look at just one single KPI. You need to see, okay, how do people actually convert? By conversion, I mean people who downloaded the app and then also registered. And we have an average of 85%. And here you can also see from 65% to 99%, there's such a big difference. And then lastly, obviously retention. We had markets that are super cheap, but then we saw after 4 weeks, only 3% of the users were still there. In other markets, it was 48%, which is obviously with a few more weeks, it's going to go down a little bit. But so we got this indication, okay, which are the most exciting, most promising markets for us. And then we picked 2 out of those 7, which was Brazil and Turkey at that time. And just we kickstarted the campaign there. So we put our really limited spend that we have on those 2 core markets. And this is an ad from this last January where you see down there, it was shared 222 times. None of our Facebook posts have ever been shared 222 times. I don't know why people share ads, but they do. And this was quite impressive for us and gave us the feel, okay, we are actually doing the right thing. And so from January till now, we grew immensely from 100,000 registers to now 1 million registers. And we did that with 75,000 euros. And this is what we spent the entire year on Facebook. So we really don't spend a lot of money. But we try to really focus, like, where do we put it? And this test that we did in January, on the end of last year, we repeated again a few months later and picked another 2 markets and repeated and picked another 2 markets and tried just to kickstart it everywhere. And as you see, over the entire year, we paid only 45 cents per registration, which is really, really low. And that's why I always, whenever those ad networks call me, I always give them this number, and then usually the conversation ends pretty quickly because it's really difficult to compete, and I understand, but also in the long run, you have to see it can't only be Facebook. So you have to we also will have to find our own like little balance. And also, it doesn't end with the registration. Sorry, you need to engage, or we realize we need to engage our users, and we need to keep them happy and keep them active. And also here, you need to have a kick-ass product. Obviously, I'm not going to go into that, but if you don't have that, then it's not worth anything, and no money can buy you like really, really great users. So we started following our users. Obviously, we track so many things. We track way too many things, actually. And these are a few metrics that we look at. We always, with every campaign, we always obviously look at CPI, conversion, retention. I guess everyone does that, and it's really, really crucial to always do that. But we also really, really data Nazis in terms of what happens afterwards. What do the people do in the app? And we have so many funnels, actually too many funnels to track for a longer period. And the most important funnel for us is our onboarding, because our onboarding is a bit more not complex, but it takes a few steps, because after you register as one user, you can't use the app. You need to create a group. You need to invite another member, or hopefully 5 other members, and then those people need to also download the app register and join your group. Only then are you actually able to use our app, and that's quite a complicated process. And we see we have like these different steps in onboarding funnel, and we track every single conversion, and you obviously see the conversion going down, down, down. Not 100% of the people who register actually end up in a successful family setup, we call it. Sorry. So we track those conversions, and we try to activate people, like invite your friend again, he hasn't responded yet, or we try to figure out why they haven't managed to create a group and try to prompt them certain times to do that. So we really measure a lot there. Another really important metric for us is engagement. So users that are super, super active are obviously really valuable, and we just put out a pretty big update roughly a month ago, and I don't know if you can see so our engagement went up like crazy. So we grew our engagement to over 100 events are triggered a week by an active user. So we grew it by over 150%, and we really try to get the people engaged, because those people who are really engaged, those are the ones that are going to pay for it later, hopefully. And lastly, we found out that 65% or more than 60% of our new users come in through referrals from other friends. And it's not because they saw the ad or because we're awesome at ASO, which we're not, but they get it actually recommended from other people. So we really try to prompt our users at the right time to recommend the app. And here we also had to learn when's the right time to actually contact our users. We really had to do a lot of tests and figure out that, okay, it's when a successful event happened, when someone checked in at home, for example, or just received a message or sent a photo. That's when we try to trigger the people and try to get them to refer or recommend our app to their friends. This is just a bit like timing-wise, how long it took us from start of like knowing nothing about the different markets to actually kickstarting our app in the different markets. Roughly 3.5 months. And from the analysis, which is the market analysis, which is roughly a month, and then for roughly another month, you obviously need to localize the app, like which SMS providers are you going to use, obviously adapt the languages and so on. That was for those markets actually done pretty quickly, and now we're available in 11 languages. And also prepare the campaign, set your KPIs and so on, and then 6 weeks of testing. And then that was enough for us to get the feeling what are the right markets. And then we just went all in with the money that we could spend on those 2 markets. And that's when the big growth started happening. It's still continuing to this day, luckily. So a few learnings that we had over this period where we repeated this process multiple times. For defining our key markets, I guess you could have done it a bit more professionally than we did. We did it ourselves. Like we tried to find the right sources ourselves, and that can be quite tricky. So if I was to do this again, I would probably take a little bit of money and get some help and pay someone to give me more information that we could actually collect to actually dig deeper into the market potential that's there. In terms of acquisition channels, I told you we went with Facebook, but there are so many, and obviously Facebook is never a wrong choice because I guess pretty much every app startup that I know are quite successful with Facebook, but it's not the only choice. So we need to figure out what are good ad networks, what else can we do to acquire users, because you can use Facebook in every market, obviously. Like Russia, it's not interesting. A lot of other markets where it's not as relevant. And then obviously, to test the campaigns, it's way simpler than we expected. It's really enough for us to just get the hinge, the idea of which markets perform by just looking at the CPI, conversion and retention. And I think we went quite well with that. In terms of kickstarting, we took a little bit too long to expand to the next market. Because we let this process run for like 5 months or half a year, we could have actually launched the next campaign every 2 months. We didn't do that. So now we just learned from that and try to catch up and actually spend 2 more markets. And lastly, in terms of measuring, we tend to overmeasure. We love data, and we love playing around with it and trying to figure out interesting new funnels, but not all of them are important. So what we also had to learn is which are the KPIs that are relevant for us, and how we're gonna measure them, and then measure them over time without spending too much time on measuring random metrics. So yeah, this was our little story, how we managed to grow. I hope you will all download the app now and tell all your friends about it, so we get this curve even steeper. And yeah, thank you very much.